So we are going to start the proceedings now. We are running the proceedings as we would an ordinary sitting of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. So what is going to happen is that the table staff, the Secretary to Parliament, and the Speaker of the Western Cape Youth Parliament are going to come through those doors. When they come through the doors, you all stand up and you remain standing. They will walk to the front. The speaker will walk up onto the dais. She will then announce that there will be a moment of silent prayer. You remain standing. And when she says, you may be seated, then you sit down. Okay. All right. Good luck with everything this morning.
We will now observe a moment of silence for prayers and or meditation. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Can I please ask that ICT just ensure that all our online participants are muted? Honorable guests, distinguished leaders, fellow colleagues, and most importantly, the vibrant and courageous young delegates of the first sitting of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. It is indeed a great honor for me this morning and a privilege to chair this session. Please allow me to welcome all delegates of the Western Cape youth structures in the various districts of the Western Cape, including junior town councils and the Representative Council of Learners Provincial Forum. I wish to also extend a warm welcome to all teachers, all facilitators, all mentors of these structures, but also all parents and guardians present here this morning. And your role is so vital in providing guidance, stability, and mentorship that truly empowers these young people here today and so many others that are at home today, in order for them to lead with confidence, make informed decisions, and grow into responsible, capable citizens. I also wish to welcome all honorable members of the executive, if there are any members of the executive, and members of this House, and if so, all public representatives present. I wish to also extend a warm word of welcome to all interested parties, residents of the Western Cape. Before I proceed, honorable delegates, I wish to convey a sincere apology from the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Honorable Dalen Mitchell, who's unfortunately unable to be with us today as he is laying to rest his dearly beloved mother in Beaufort West today. Our thoughts and our prayers are with Speaker Mitchell and his brother Dimitri, his sister Mandy, their grandchildren, and the entire extended family during this deeply difficult time. And we pray this morning that God will grant them strength and comfort as they mourn this loss of their cherished mother and grandmother. Honorable delegates, I also wish to extend an apology on behalf of the Deputy Speaker, who today is representing the Office of the Speaker in solidarity and in support of Speaker Mitchell and his family. Honorable delegates, may I kindly request that those that are able to, please stand as we observe a moment of silence in the honor of Speaker Mitchell's mother and his family and in remembrance. If you can kindly stand, please. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Honorable delegates, as I said, it is both a privilege and a deeply humbling honor for me to be chairing this historic session today. And today, I believe, is the beginning of voices rising, of dreams finding direction, and of a generation that is stepping boldly into its purpose. En terwyl ek hier sit vanoggend, word ek herinner, toe ek jong was, dis baie, baie lang gelede, waar ek opgegroei het in die landelike area van Parel. En jy weet, geleenthede was nie altyd sigbaar op daai stadium nie. En die wêreld het vir jou so ver gevoel. En dit is waar drome soms vir ons onwerklik lyk en voel. So daardie klein meisie van baie jare gelede het nooit kon droom dat sy ook vandag hier sou wees in die provinsiale parlement nie. Maar ons kan net op ons eie as jong mense 'n belofte aan onsself maak oor hoe ons die wêreld wil verbeter. En tog toe het ek nie geweet dat wat presies die pad vorentoe inhou nie, maar wat belangrik is, dat die jong mense moet glo. So growing up the road was not always easy, and I'm sure all of you has got your own stories and can indeed attest to that. There were difficult challenges, moments of doubt, of course, moments of fear even, moments where giving up seemed like the simplest choice. But what carried that young girl forward was a deep understanding that her story mattered, that her voice mattered, and that her future was worth fighting for. En deur volharding, deur ervaring op te bou en deur toewyding om te dien, het daardie droom stadig begin vorm aanneem. Stap vir stap, jaar vir jaar, het sy haarself op 'n pad van openbare diens bevind, 'n reis wat nou meer as 20 jaar al strek. But also let me tell you something important. After all this time, after all the work, after all the progress, I've never forgotten where I've started. And I also want to leave that with you today. And remember why you are here today and what you intend to do with what you gather here today. So what we do as members of parliament is for every child that may feel unseen, for them to know whatever you pursue in life, it's not impossible. For every young person who wonders if their voice matters, indeed it does. For every dream that feels too big, it can indeed be achieved. Young delegates, you are not here today by accident, and you need to realize that. Dis geen toeval dat julle vandag hier is nie. Julle is hier omdat julle die krag in julle dra om die toekoms van ons provinsie en ons land te vorm. Julle is hier omdat julle idees saak maak, julle perspektiewe maak saak en julle moed maak saak. Hierdie jeugparlement is 'n geleentheid om te praat, 'n geleentheid vir ons om te luister, 'n geleentheid om ons ook uit te daag. En die belangrikste van alles, dis julle geleentheid om te lei. And leadership is not about titles. It is not about positions. It is about the responsibility. It is about integrity. It is about choosing every single day to stand up for what is right, and even when it is difficult. As you engage in the discussions today, and I urge you to remember this, that your voice is your power. Use it boldly. Use it to build, not to break. Use it to unite and not to divide. South Africa needs you. Our communities need you. And the future is waiting for you. But changes does not happen overnight. It requires patience. It requires resilience. It requires hard work. There will be moments when progress feels really slow. And I'm sure we will hear a lot of that, because as we move and work in the communities, we hear these voices of the young people Why can't things not be otherwise? When your efforts may seem unnoticed, when your dreams may feel distant, and in those moments, I want you to remember that the little child inside you, the one who dared to dream in the first place. So hold on to that dream, hold on to that child, protect that dream, because it is that dream that will carry you through the challenges. It is that dream that will remind you why you have started. And today, as we open this first sitting of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, we are planting seeds, seeds of leadership, seeds of change, seeds of possibility. And what you do with this opportunity will determine what grows from the seeds. Will you choose courage over comfort? Will you choose action over silence? Will you choose to be the generation that does not wait for change, but create that change? And I believe you will. And never, ever forget where you come from, because your roots are not your limitation, they are your strength. In closing, honorable delegates, I leave you with this thought. The world does not change because of one big moment. It changes because of many small, consistent actions taken by people who refuse to give up. And I ask you today, please be those people. Let this youth parliament be the beginning of something extraordinary, not just for yourselves, but for every young person who will follow in your footsteps. I thank you. Honorable delegates, now that we will proceed, I will highlight some of the important housekeeping rules for the sitting. You have been briefed by Mr. James Retief, but it is order for us to also present the order of proceedings or the housekeeping rules to all members. And today it is your opportunity as delegates. Today's sitting shall be governed by the standing rules, and in instance where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling of the presiding officer is final. The quorum requirements for sittings of the House are as provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules. The Sergeant at Arms will be recording members' attendance. Members who are present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Unless there is an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and who are entitled to cast their votes in accordance with our standing rules. Members who are considered to be out of order by the presiding office, I'm sure I would not have to rule any delegate out of order this morning, will have their microphones muted and will be called to order. When an honorable member, in this case honorable delegate, wishes to raise a point of order, such an delegate may address the presiding officer as normal, but must mute his or her microphone when completed speaking. Delegates are kindly requested to ensure that their microphones are unmuted when they are recognized by the presiding officer, and to mute their microphones when they have finished speaking. I kindly request those delegates to please observe the decorum of the House. For the purpose of this sitting, I believe language interpreting services are available, Secretary. Indeed it is. It is available by using the devices at your disposal if you are required an interpreting device. Are there any extras, or we just use the additionals on the benches, or rather those mounted on the benches? There's no additionals for Secretary, for other? Sure. So you may then also raise your hand, and an attendant will assist you if you are perhaps struggling to switch into the interpreting channels. Officials are available in the chambers to assist you. Delegates are also reminded that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings, and to this end, I believe the rule is not applicable to you this morning, but please, if you want my attention as the presiding officer, please do raise your hand and I will acknowledge you. The secretary and the administration will ensure that there is dedicated technical support at all times during the sitting. And I wish that all delegates understand that what has been conveyed to you this morning. I was asked to also just explain the interpreting device on your desk. So channel 1 is for English, channel 2 is for Afrikaans, and channel 4? 6. Channel 6 is for isiXhosa. Delegates, we will now proceed with the business of the House. The Secretary will now provide an input on the purpose of the program today. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I thought maybe before I start with the purpose of the day, some of this may be quite daunting and intimidating. It looks different when you're watching it from television. And we have agreed with the Presiding Officer, maybe just to give you a short overview of sittings in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, where it comes from, why do we have this seating arrangement, and also when we entered the chamber, why do we follow this procession? So before a sitting happens, there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. We have a programming authority, which is a multi-party committee. So it represents the different parties in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament that will meet to discuss what needs to be placed on the program of the institution. So it's the broader parliamentary program that will not only provide for sittings, but also committee meetings and also engagements that the Provincial Parliament will broadly have with other institutions, bodies, if it's across the globe as well. So we will pull together a parliamentary program, and it will then say there's a sitting, and then we determine what you will call the agenda for the sitting, but we call it an order paper. So we today also have an order paper with a speakers list that will determine what is the business we're going to have for today. So that order paper can include anything from questions for oral reply, where the Premier will need to get up and respond to a question that another member has asked. It can be interpellations, and I quite enjoy interpellations because it's a snap debate where you don't know what the follow-up questions are going to be. There's a question that's printed on the question paper. You know what the main question is, but you really don't know as the MEC or the Premier who has to answer what are the follow-up questions, which means that you must know your portfolio and you must be able to be ready to answer. So this is not easy work that happens in this chamber. I think you're going to get a lighter version of it today, but there's a lot of work and preparation that needs to go into it. There's also opportunity for subject for discussions, and normally it's rotated amongst the political parties that's represented in the Provincial Parliament to propose a subject for discussion. And it can be anything around a debate on access to schooling, access to services, the crime in the province, etc. And normally with those debates, there's a speakers list that's agreed to amongst the political parties. So today we also have a speakers list to say in which order you'll all be speaking. All that preparatory work all happens behind the scenes. What you see here today is just the culmination of the work that goes in there. And then we also have motions. So very often you will hear members get up to congratulate the Springboks for winning the World Cup. Or members will get up to recognize somebody in their community that has achieved something. So sometimes you will wonder, why does my name appear on the parliamentary program or on the minutes that is how it happens. A member will come and say, Masiga Kaka from the Cape Metro District has done ABCD and we want to congratulate her. And that will then feature on the minutes in perpetuity. So for the rest of your life, that name is going to stay in the records of our parliamentary archives. I maybe also wanted to explain a bit of the seating arrangements. A lot of our rules is premised on a Westminster parliamentary system. So the oldest parliament in the world, you will know, is in the United Kingdom. It is the House of Commons and the House of Lords. It's fairly old. And many modern parliaments have had their roots founded on a Westminster system. So the layout of the House, including the entrance, so you will see the presiding officer. We say presiding officer today because it's not a formal sitting. Normally it's the speaker or the deputy speaker that will enter the chamber. And maybe just as an aside, when we, in the olden days, when the king asked the people to elect somebody to represent them, the individual was called the speaker because you're speaking on behalf of the citizens. And very often speakers didn't want to be elected because if the king wasn't happy with what you had to say, he will chop off your head. So when our speaker was elected, they were always assigned 2 members to drag him to take up the seat behind me. So it's part of those traditions that are still maintained today. You will still see it in the National Assembly. When the speaker is elected, there's 2 members that accompany her to take up a seat, but it's actually dragging her to take up a seat that people don't really want because your head might be on the block if the king is not happy with you. Just as a matter of interest, the distance between the 2 desks, between the ruling party that sits on the right-hand side and the opposition parties, I'm told it's exactly 2 sword lengths. And the purpose of that is, in the olden days, when it was a bit too close, you can just imagine if I come into the house and I'm like, I have my sword and I don't like what Honorable Marie is saying, something will happen. So they've very delicately measured this, and I'm told it's still the case. It's 2 sword lengths apart. Seating arrangements, again, the ruling parties on the right-hand side, opposition parties are on the left-hand side. Masiga is sitting where the premier would be sitting. You are sitting where the chief whip of the ruling parties, Honorable Bosman, would sit. Matthew is sitting where the leader of the opposition, Honorable Sayed of the ANC, is sitting. And then I can't see your name. You are sitting where the chief whip of the biggest opposition party is sitting. We have 2 holders here that would normally, when the sergeant at arms, so the sergeant at arms is responsible for security in the house, he would normally come into the house with a mace. So you'll see this big wooden structure with some very nice gold features will be placed on the shoulder. There's a picture of it as you leave the chamber if you want to have a look at it. But it also is a representation of these provincial symbols that are attached to it. So you'll find grapes on there, which is representative of our agricultural in the Western Cape. But have a look at it. You can also go to our website and see it. The sergeant at arms will normally carry that as a symbol of the house and the authority of the speaker in the house. When the house is in session, it will lie flat across these 2 bars as an indication that the house is in session. And normally when the house is not in session, you will not find the mace in the house. I've used the word whips. So there's a whip over there, there's a whip over there. And the word whip is really symbolic. The whip is there to keep the members of the party in check and to make sure that the members observe also the decorum of the house, but also when it comes to attendance of meetings, attending committee meetings, the whips are there just to make sure that their members are adhering to rules and procedures, but also manages party-related issues. So I've dealt with the rules, the layout, 2 sword lengths, right-hand side, left-hand side. The gallery. In olden days, there were not necessarily a gallery. The gallery is largely there to allow any interested member of the public to come and attend and to observe whether my public representative is actually representing me and representing my issues. Unfortunately, I need to tell the gallery you are most welcome, but you are not allowed to participate. Your public representatives are all here. They're here to speak for you. So we don't allow the gallery to participate in the program. Now back to our business for the Western Cape Youth Parliament. I think it gives me great pleasure to say that the purpose for today is really to formalize the establishment of a Western Cape Youth Parliament. This structure is made up of a number of youth leadership structures in the various districts of the Western Cape. And I know we had internal discussions in terms of how best can we do this to make sure that we have a representation of youth in the Western Cape province. And part of it was largely dependent on the different youth leadership structures. And we thought that we have got 6 districts that we can draw on what exists in the various districts. And we have then drawn on the junior town councils, as well as the representative council of learners at provincial level. So these JTCs are established by municipalities. I'm running this program on an application basis, and these applications were then considered and also managed through the Department of Education. Now, we've had a lot of interest. To a large extent, we have made sure that we have representation of each of the districts and regions in the province, including the West Coast District, Cape Winelands Districts, Central Karoo, Overberg, Garden Route, as well as the Cape Metropolitan area. You have now been given the honor of representing youth structures in your respective regions. And the term of office that we've agreed to is going to be 12 months from the date of swearing in, and you are going to take an oath. I would encourage you also to go and look at the oath of office that members of the Provincial Parliament has to take. It is in an annexure or schedule in the Constitution. So you're going to take a very similar oath to say that you are going to represent, and either oath or an affirmation. There will also then be 2 plenary sessions that we will schedule in the year, where one will be in person, the other will be online via MS Teams, to make sure that you are able to bring issues impacting youth in the province onto the Provincial Parliament table. I am told that there was a great deal of interest from other structures also to be part of this Western Cape Youth Parliament. And what we want to encourage you is to please engage with other youth structures within your respective regions to make sure that those that were not necessarily accommodated to be formally part of this WCYP, that their interests and concerns are also raised. So you're now taking on the mantle of a member of Parliament at the Western Cape Youth Parliament. Sometimes what we see on TV make it look easy. We've got honourable members with us that will explain to you it's not that easy. Apart from your role in the chamber, where you have to represent, debate issues, you also have to appear in a number of committees where you have to deal with portfolio issues, passing of legislation, performing oversight over the executive, and then you also have a responsibility to a constituency, very much in the way you're going to have a responsibility to represent youth constituents in your region that you are responsible for. We really want to encourage you to open up that opportunity for different structures to meet. So it means you're going to have to find the time and the space to set up opportunities for those structures. First, find out who are all the other structures in my region and how do I get to connect with them, communicate with them, but also on a regular basis, apart from meeting with them, give feedback. We really stress with our members the opportunity to go and give feedback, because people feel Parliament comes, they speak to us, and then we don't see them until the next elections. And that's what we really hear. You have the opportunity to set a good example of taking issues on board, discussing it at the Youth Parliament session, and then go back, even if you're not able to physically go back, if it's an email, if it's a recording, if it's an MST meetings, to say, we have discussed your issues, these are the things that emanated, and these are the solutions that's been proposed. And that is the role of public representatives, and that's what our electoral system is premised on. So I really want to stress the need for feedback. And from my side, from the Secretary and the Parliamentary Administration, we really welcome this opportunity to establish and formalize this Western Cape Youth Parliament. We really look forward to working with you and set a footprint of what a youth parliament can achieve for youth in the Western Cape province. And I wish you well with all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. I now call upon the Director for Public Education and Outreach, Ms. S. Verscheer, to do the introduction of delegates and commitment to Western Cape Youth Parliament and give an overview of the Western Cape Youth Parliament program.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. While I was actually just looking at it and I was thinking, Secretary, it's a great display today of female leadership in WCPP, that the Speaker, the Secretary and the Director for Public Engagements are all women. And I'm glad to see many female faces amongst the delegates. South Africa has, since independence, set a goal for 50% female representation in Parliament. So it's good to see that we are getting there. While the Secretary was talking, and she was talking about the whips, because that was when I started working in a parliamentary sector, it was very interesting for me, the concept of a whip. But when she was talking, I thought, yeah, they whip, but they don't nay. Thank you very much, Speaker, for this opportunity. We are now going to do the introduction of the delegates and the taking of the oath. So what I am going to ask is that we stand up and we're going to start with Masia, and we're going to go down around the front row, and then when we're done with Matthew, we go around the back. So please stand up. Switch on your mic, introduce yourself. I would like you to state your name, surname, and where you come from. Secretary, also, we have the Provincial Forum of the Representative Council of Learners as another formalized youth structure that's here. So please stand up, name, surname, where you are from, and then switch off your mic, but remain standing. Secretary, we have delegates who are joining us online. So Kaya will facilitate that so that when everyone in the house has introduced themselves, Kaya will let them introduce themselves online, and then we all remain standing for the taking of the oath. I'm going to read the line and you're going to repeat it after me, but your mics can be off. Okay, thank you very much. We can start with you, Masia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Masia Kaka, and I'm from Fishhook.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Casey Marman, and I am from Malmesbury.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Zawa Aesop, and I'm from Beaufort West.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nondomisa Tonisi, and I'm from Overberg, Cape Agulhas in Bredasdorp.
The Speaker of the House and everyone, a very good morning to you all. I go by the name and surname of Sihle Khoto, and I'm from the streets of Khayelitsha, Elita Park.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sarif Kanel, and I am from Robertson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Colin Marley. I'm from Wellington, and I'm on behalf of the Representative Council of Learners Provincial Forum.
Good morning, everyone. I am Bonaline, and I am Bonaline Zafta, and I am from Worcester.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Insla Solomons. I'm from Gabau, and I will be representing the Overberg district.
Good morning, everyone. I am Shaken Ovis, and I am from Butterfontein.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniela Smith from Stellenbosch and representing the Cape Winelands district.
Hello, I am Jaden John Foster. I am from Saldanha Bay, representing the West Coast district. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Guillermo Jones, and I am representing the Langeberg municipality. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I'm from Mossel Bay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Byron Skeepers, representing the Cape Winelands District.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Esmuwaida from Oudtshoorn.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, everyone. My name is Corbin Constable and I'm from Napier.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Taylor and I'm representing the Garden Route District from George.
Good morning, everyone. I am Kwaitile Fumba from the RCL Provincial Forum. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Josh Richard. I'm from Midrand.
Good morning to the presiding officer as well as all protocol observed. I am Desiderius Klaassen. I am the chairperson of the Greater Oudtshoorn Youth Council representing Garden Route here today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikilita Paki and I'm from Saldanha Bay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kera Liebenberg and I'm from Grabouw.
Good morning, everyone. I am Akbalama Bongo from Stellenbosch in Kayamandi.
Good morning, respected members. My name is Busha Sayed. I am from Metro East District and I'm also the Vice Secretary of the Provincial Forum.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Renas Isaacs from Apex High and I'm also the chairperson of the Metro East District.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marcus Kaby and I'm from Elswood High School and I'm representing the Metro North.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vina Fila. I'm from Barrow and I'm representing the Western Cape Provincial Parliament.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, members. I'm Raid Williams and I'm representing the Metro District.
Thank you, Sunil. Now we're going to move to the online platform. I've noted the members from the RCL forum. Can I start as a way of introduction with the students from De Villiers Graaf? I see Omri online. Omri, do you mind just unmuting your mic and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omri Hartnick, and I'm from the RCL Provincial Forum, and I am representing the Overberg District.
Okay, thank you, Omri. Can we go to the others, please? Anyone online?
Good morning, honorable members of the Republic. I'm Luke Lamb, 17 years of age from the Ocean View Secondary School community representing the Metro South Education District.
You look next, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Hogan Putin from Oudtshoorn.
Okay. John, you sound very soft. Can you speak closer to your mic? Okay. Can we go to the next person, please?
Good morning, everyone. I am from Piketberg, Amaili Blankenberg, and I'm representing the West Coast District.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have the next person? Yes, Lily, you on the platform?
Good morning, everyone. I am Zinique Weiss and I'm representing the Central Karoo District.
Okay, thank you very much, Zainik. Do we have more people? Is there a next person on the platform? Sunil, I think based on what I can see on the list, that would be the delegates online. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kaya. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to repeat after me. Having been selected to participate in the Western Cape Youth Parliament, I hereby commit myself to the following.
I hereby commit myself to the following.
I commit to participating in the Youth Parliament with integrity and responsibility.
With integrity and responsibility.
Recognizing that I am entrusted to represent the voices, concerns and aspirations of young people.
Concerns and aspirations of young people.
I undertake to act in the best interest.
I undertake to act in the best interest.
Of youth and to contribute meaningfully.
To youth and to contribute meaningfully.
To discussions and deliberations of the Youth Parliament.
To discussions and deliberations of the Youth Parliament.
I commit. To serving Western Cape Provincial Parliament values, missions and visions throughout my term.
Values, visions and missions throughout my term.
Thank you very much. You may sign your commitment certificate and you are now officially members of the Western Cape Youth Parliament. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fisher. As you sign your commitments, you may be seated. Thank you very much. In terms of our proceedings, we will now call on delegates from the various districts and the representative council of learners to address the House. I acknowledge and I now call on Masia Kaka, the representative from the Cape Metro.
Good morning, everyone. Like I said, my name is Masia Kaka, and I'm proudly representing the Cape Metro. There's a saying that goes, the youth are not just leaders of tomorrow, but the custodians of today, and it is in that the spirit I stand before you. Over the past 10 years living in Cape Town, I've been exposed to a range of communities, witnessing how a young person's environment can mold their outlook, opportunities, and ultimately their future. Through my time as a junior city councillor, I've encountered young people whose lives look completely different, yet are connected by shared struggles. And this reminds us that behind every hardship is a story that deserves to be heard. As the Cape Metro, we have chosen to focus on the Department of Police Oversight and Community Safety, Infrastructure and Education, because they mirror the everyday experiences of young people, our safety, our surroundings, and the direction of our futures. Now, in terms of Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, Section 12, Subsection 1, everyone has a right to freedom and security. Firstly, crime, gangsterism, and substance abuse. These are not distant issues, they are deeply entrenched realities, slowly eroding the very fabric of our communities. For many, this isn't something they can escape. It surrounds them, shapes them, and in many cases, traps them. One way forward is strengthening rehabilitation and support programs, giving young people a real chance to step away from these environments and create different pathways for themselves. Secondly, infrastructure and living conditions. I was fortunate enough to walk through Masipumalele with a councillor last year. And what stayed with me wasn't what I saw, it was who I saw. Youth full of life and laughter, yet surrounded by conditions that don't reflect their potential. A step forward is to invest in spaces that uplift daily life, safer and cleaner, where young people can grow, feel secure, and begin to imagine something beyond what they see around them. Lastly, in terms of Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, Section 29, Subsection 1, everyone has a right to basic education. Education is changing, but access isn't always keeping up. Schools are overcrowded, and spaces to build new ones are limited. As someone who studies online, I've seen how effective it can be and how much more it could reach if we were widely supported. Expanding digital spaces, such as community hubs with access to online education, could open many new doors for youth in a way that is both practical and inclusive. So, for Youth Month, we have chosen to focus on shifting from academic learning to practical learning because not every young person is meant to succeed in the same way. There is an ocean of unrecognized talent among the youth waiting to be seen and given a chance. So we need to move beyond academic success to creating a space for practical learning skills, providing youth with something real to build their future on. And for Heritage Month, we're focusing on improved living conditions. As heritage isn't about where we come from, it is what people live through every single day. And something as basic as proper sanitation, safe water, and dignified spaces can change not how just people live, but how they see themselves. This is why what we do here matters, because when young people are overlooked, unheard, or unsupported, the consequences ripple far beyond the individual. In closing, young people are not the problem, we are the potential. And when potential is recognized, nurtured, and invested in, it becomes unstoppable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kaka. Can I also remind the members in the gallery, according to the rules, you are not allowed to participate, but I'm sure you really do want to give acknowledgement as much as I want to clap from this chair as well. Thank you very much. I recognize Jaden Joan Foster, representing the West Coast.
Thank you, Speaker. I am proud to represent the West Coast, known for its beautiful beaches and people. I believe that leadership isn't something defined by age or status. Everyone can be a leader, no matter who you are. I am proud to represent the Saldanha Bay and its Youth Council. During this term, I would be interested, sorry, um, interested in pursuing departments like the Western Cape Education Department, because that is where every young leader starts at the school. Second is the Department of Social Development. It is due to everything that we do, every aspect as the youth is social. And thirdly, the Western Cape Government's Health and Wellness Department. It is because as youth, we face many health challenges and wellness challenges, especially with mental health. Now, Honorary Speaker, the 1976 generation did not only reject oppression and injustice, they stood boldly for the protection, dignity, and future of young people in this country. Today, it is our responsibility to honor that legacy by confronting the challenges that continue to threaten the well-being, development, and future of the youth. Many of our young people are facing serious social and educational challenges that demand urgent attention. From illegal underage drinking to pressures within the home, leading to harmful behavior, to the growing crisis of learners not reading at their grade level. These are issues we cannot ignore. It is evident from the inputs today that we all agree these are challenges we must confront together as the youth. Honorable Speaker, Illegal underage drinking and unregulated shebeens and substance abuse threaten the youth's health, safety, and future. Easy access fuels addiction, bad choices, violence, health risks, school failure, and loss of potential. To protect our youth, we must crack down on these illegal activities, raise awareness, and unite communities, families, and institutions to create safe spaces. Let's collaborate with local leaders, schools, and NGOs to provide engaging activities for young people while using social media to spread messages about the risks of substance abuse and promote healthy choices. The role of home and social pressures. Honorable Speaker, we must face a hard truth. Not all pressures on learners come from outside. Many start at home. Bullying and parental pressure often sparks behavioral issues, disengagement, and loss of futures at school. When the youth feel unsupported or overwhelmed, it erodes their confidence and conduct. We need strong schools and stronger families, trading pressure for guidance, fear for support, and conformity for growth. Because home must be a sanctuary and not a source of distress. The reading literacy crisis. Honorable Speaker, one urgent crisis is learners failing to read at grade level. Reading isn't just a subject, it is the foundation of all learning. A non reader can't engage in education, master other subjects, or compete in life. This spells an economic and social disaster in making. We must fund early childhood development, boost literacy programs, empower teachers, and ensure no child is left behind. Let's establish accessible libraries stocked with engaging books and leverage apps and digital tools to make reading fun and interactive. Because if a child can't read, their future stalls. We have chosen the following topics to focus on: empowering the youth, leadership, and active citizenship. We must encourage young people to take part in community building, voting, and leadership because it is the shaping of our country's future. Ubuntu for Heritage Day, the spirit of togetherness. Ubuntu means I am because we are, promotes compassion, respect, and community values needed in modern society. Now, in conclusion, Honourable Speaker, the challenges facing our youth today may be different from those of 1976, but they are no less important. If we fail to act, we risk losing a generation to oppression, not to oppression, but neglect, pressure, and lack of opportunities. If we stand together, act boldly, to protect, to support, and to educate, then we honor the legacy of those who came before us. Let us build a South Africa where every young person is safe, supported, and equipped to succeed. Because the future of this country depends on the strength of its youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I also at this stage just remind delegates of your speaking time? You will see on the screens there's also a clock that you can follow to see how many time you do have left. I now call on and recognize Byron Skeepers, who is the representative from the Cape Winelands. You may proceed.
Honorable Speaker, members of the legislature, and young people, our generation is full of potential, ambition, and creativity. Yet, too many young people find themselves trapped in cycles of unemployment without access to meaningful job opportunities, skills development, and entrepreneurial support. Hope begins to fade. Unemployment is not just an economic issue, it is an issue of dignity, affecting mental health, fuels inequality, and limits the ability of young people to contribute meaningfully to society. At the same time, we are navigating a rapidly evolving digital world where, while technology has brought opportunity, it has introduced new risks, most notably cyberbullying. Many young people suffer in silence as they face harassment and abuse online. The impacts this impacts their confidence, their academic performance, and in some cases, their well-being. We must treat cyberbullying with the seriousness it deserves, ensuring safe digital spaces and strong support systems. Education is the foundation of opportunity, and it remains uneven. There are and will still be significant gaps in access to quality education across our communities. Some learners attend well-resourced schools while others struggle with overcrowded classes, limited materials, and lack of support. This inequality creates a system where young people's future is too often undermined by their postcode rather than their potential. This and this underlying all of the challenges are a broader socioeconomic disparities, poverty, limited access to services, and historical inequality continues to shape the lived experiences of young people. These conditions do not just limit opportunity, they restrict dreams. But today I stand here not only highlighting problems, I stand here with a message of possibility. We urge the legislature to act not alone, but in partnership with communities, civil society, and young people themselves. We need targeted youth employment programs, investment in skills and development, and support for young entrepreneurs. We need stronger policies and awareness campaigns to combat cyberbullying, ensuring that no young person feels unsafe in digital spaces. We need equal investment in education so that every learner, regardless of background, has access to quality learning environments. And we need integrated approaches to tackle socioeconomic issues and inequality at its roots. Most importantly, we need to include young people in decision making. Youth are not just beneficiaries of policy, we are partners in shaping solutions. Honourable members, the future of the Cape Winelands depends on the choices we make today. By working together with government, communities, and young people, we can transform these challenges into opportunities. Let us act with urgency, let us act with purpose, and let us work together to build a future where every young person has the choice not just to survive, but to thrive. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on and recognize Angela Solomons, representative from the Overberg district.
Good morning, Honourable Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Good morning, Honourable Members, Delegates, and Members of Parliament. It's a privilege for me to stand here today. I would like to greet you all with respect and appreciation. And thank you very much for the opportunity to make my voice heard today and on a matter that is of great importance to us all. Nelson Mandela once said, "The youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow." We stand at a pivotal moment in addressing the challenges facing our youth. One of the issues identified and what I have seen growing up in a rural area is youth unemployment. It is evident that it is one of the key challenges facing our youth. Yet the root of these elevated unemployment rates do not lie primarily in academic failure, as the majority of our youth exit the education system having attained a matric certificate. Rather, the deeper crisis lies in the gap between qualification and readiness. Without parental guidance, many young people lack this practical skill, career direction, and professional network and emotional resilience required to translate the education into employment. Even though the Overberg district rates are relatively Even though the Overberg district is one of the best performing regions for youth, for young job seekers, and even if the unemployment rates are relatively low, it may still means that 1 out of 5 youth out of young people are unemployed, which leads me to believe that we must seek to empower our youth through targeted programs. We must focus more on the upskilling of our youth in technical and vocational education. The solution lies in targeted upskilling, where we could use programs to prepare our youth not just for theoretical knowledge, but with practical physical skills employers local employers actually need. Initiatives like the Western Cape Government Youth in Construction Learnership, EPWP, gives opportunities, and agricultural training demonstrate that when training aligns with the district's economy, young people can move from unemployment to meaningful contribution. Secondly, bullying, specifically cyberbullying. Cyberbullying among our youth is no longer a distant urban issue. It has become a pressing threat in communities across the Overberg district. As smartphones and social media permeate even the most rural corners of the Western Cape, harmful online behavior fuels social isolation, anxiety, depression, and in the gravest instances, suicidal thoughts or attempts. The urgency of this problem demands immediate collective action. Local children who do not feel supported in home are less likely to report cyberbullying. The silence allows this behavior to continue being unchecked. Our Overberg youth are particularly vulnerable. For example, towns like Grabouw, Kyalizan, hubs of agriculture and tourism. Many people Smartphones and social media platforms such as WhatsApp and Facebook have become their primary portal to the world, often without sufficient parental guidance or digital literacy. Young people may not fully understand digital ethics, boundaries, or consequences. Without parental guidance, they are more likely to participate in bullying, fail to recognize when they are being targeted. Local policing and community safety reports highlight bullying and cyberbullying as a critical concern alongside poverty and substance abuse. Although the Western Cape Education Department runs anti-bullying initiatives in schools, it's been reported that there was an increase of 28% in the reporting of bullying cases. Rural districts like ours often lack the intensive mental health supports available in Cape Town. Long distance to clinics, few counselors, and social stigma meant for the targeted youth. Whether over appearance, family background, and school performance, or local rivalries, the youth often face these challenges alone. Environment. What we fail to connect with, ultimately fail to protect. We are increasingly seeing a disconnect between young people, and the natural environment. With rising screen time and limited outdoor engagement, habits such as littering and poor recycling continue to grow, contributing to broader environmental challenges. This is not a lack of concern, but is a lack of exposure and guidance. In many cases, limited parental involvement in environmental practices reduce opportunities for young people to develop a meaningful connection with nature. To address this, a collective approach is required by encouraging families and communities to engage in their environmental activities together. We can strengthen awareness, responsibility, and long-term stewardship. Because when young people are connected to nature, they are more inclined to protect it. Safeguarding our environment is not only a shared responsibility, it is a shared investment in our future. Honorable members, distinguished guests, the future of our society rests in the hands of our youth. It is our collective responsibility, government, families, and communities, to guide, inspire, and empower them. By investing in education, well-being, and engagement, We are not just shaping individuals, we are shaping a stronger, more resilient, and more prosperous nation. Let us act with vision and commitment so that every young person in this opportunity has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Solomons. I call on and recognize Matthew Taylor, who is the representative from the Garden Route District.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished guests, fellow young leaders, and members of this House. My name is Matthew Taylor. I am 16 years old, and I stand before you today as the Junior Speaker of the Junior City Council of George, proudly representing the Garden Route District. Today, I speak not only as a representative, but as a young person who witnesses daily the challenges faced by the youth in our communities. While we are often described as the leaders of tomorrow, we are also the citizens of today, and the issues we face cannot wait. There are three critical challenges affecting the youth in our district: gender-based violence, substance abuse, and mental health struggles. Firstly, gender-based violence remains one of the most urgent crises in our country. Too many young people grow up in environments where violence, fear, and inequality are normalized. This not only affects victims physically and emotionally, but also shapes how future generations understand relationships, respect, and power. As young people, we must be part of changing this narrative. Secondly, substance abuse continues to destroy the potential of many young individuals. Whether it's alcohol or drugs, substance abuse often becomes an escape from difficult realities such as poverty, trauma, and peer pressure. However, this escape comes at a high cost, damaging health, breaking families, and limiting opportunities for the future of our nation. Thirdly, mental health struggles among the youth are increasing at an alarming rate. Many young people suffer in silence, facing anxiety, depression, and overwhelming pressure without the support that they need. The stigma surrounding mental health often prevents them from seeking help, leaving them feel isolated and unheard, which then leads to them going to substance abuse. Honorable members, these issues are not separate. They are deeply connected. Exposure to violence can lead to trauma. Trauma can lead to substance abuse, and all of these contribute to declining mental health. This is why our response must be unified, intentional, and focused on education and awareness so that the cycle cannot continue. This brings me to the importance of targeted awareness during key months in our social calendar. Youth Month in June 2026 presents a vital opportunity to educate young people about gender-based violence. This month is dedicated to celebrating the power, resilience, and potential of the youth. However, we cannot truly celebrate youth while many continue to live in fear. By using this time to raise awareness, host discussions, and promote respect and equality, we empower young people to recognize abuse, speak out against it, and build a culture of accountability and safety. Similarly, Heritage Month in September 2026 offers a meaningful platform to address substance abuse, one of our key issues. Heritage is about identity, values, and the legacy that we carry forward. Substance abuse threatens to destroy that legacy. By educating young people in this time, we can encourage them to take pride in who they are, make responsible choices, and understand that their actions today shape the future of our communities. Honorable Speaker, education is not just about information, it is about transformation. When we educate the youth, we do not only inform them of the dangers, but we equip them with the power to make better decisions, to support one another, and to become agents of change. In conclusion, the challenges of gender-based violence, substance abuse, and mental health struggles are real, urgent, and deeply impactful. But so too is the potential of the youth to rise above these challenges. Let us not underestimate the power of awareness. Let us not delay action. And let us not forget that by investing in the youth, We are investing in the future of our nation. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on and recognize Zawa Esop, representative from the Central Karoo.
Honorable Chair, Secretary of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Director of Public Engagement, Youth Structures, Organizations, and residents of the Western Province. My name is Zawa Esop, and I stand before you as the Junior Mayor of Beaufort West Municipality. I carry with me the hopes, the frustrations, and the untapped potential of the young people living in the vast Central Karoo. From the streets of Beaufort West to the quiet corners of Merwellville, Maritzburg, and Nelspruit. We are the children of the great for thirst. Yet our greatest challenge today is not the water we lack, but the lack of economic and social pipeline that connects us to the prosperity of the Western Cape. Young people are expected to actively participate in critical areas such as health, education, economic empowerment, social inclusion, governance, peace building, environmental stewardship. However, within our district, the structures and support systems required to enable this meaningful participation remain limited or in some areas absent. This continues to constrain the meaningful involvement of youth development. To the Department of the Premier, it has been observed that across local municipalities within the Central Karoo, there is no functional youth desk to serve as a structured platform for youth engagement. These platforms are essential in facilitating coordination, engagement, and communication between the government and young people. The lack of such structures has resulted in the following: limited participation opportunities for young people to actively participate in government programs, community awareness initiatives, and social development projects. We are concerned that there is insufficient support in developing cooperative relationships between the government and the youth, identifying and responding to the evolving needs of young people, designing and implementing targeted youth development programs, empowering young people to become active citizens and positive role models within their communities. To the Department of Social Development, while the department continues to play a critical role in social support, there are notable gaps in youth-focused interventions within our district. These include a lack of tailored programs specifically addressing youth challenges, limited initiatives that promote active youth participation in community life, insufficient literacy awareness and programs targeting young people, a need to strengthen efforts in building social cohesion and networks among youth across communities. These gaps have a direct impact on the ability of young people to fully participate in and contribute to their communities. To the Department of Economic Development and Environmental Affairs, youth unemployment in the district continues to rise, limit by a compounded by a skills mismatch, limited access to opportunities, and structural barriers to entry into the economy. In this context, the promotion of entrepreneurship is not important, it is essential. However, the following challenges continue to persist: limited youth focused entrepreneurship development initiatives, a lack of accessible funding mechanisms for the youth owned small businesses, absence of structural mentorship to guide and support young entrepreneurs, insufficient programs aimed at bridging the knowledge and skills gaps in entrepreneurship. For many young people, these barriers are discouraging and prevent them from pursuing entrepreneurial opportunities altogether. All the above highlighted challenges need for strengthening, coordination, and targeted support from provincial departments to ensure that youth development is effectively prioritized within the Central Karoo. The district remains committed to working collaboratively with the Western Cape government and all relevant stakeholders to ensure the socio-economic conditions of young people. However, there is clear need for enhanced support, structured programs, and sustained interventions that are responsive to the realities of rural municipalities. We therefore respectfully request the Western Cape government to consider the establishment and strengthening of youth desks within local municipalities, enhance interdepartmental coordination in delivering youth-focused programs, introduce targeted, accessible, and sustainable initiatives that respond to the realities faced by young people in rural areas, strengthen partnership with local stakeholders to ensure that interventions are inclusive and impactful. We raise these concerns not only to highlight challenges, but also in the spirit of partnership and shared responsibility. We remain hopeful that through collaborative efforts, we can create an environment where young people are empowered and given the opportunity to strive. In closing, we are the guardians of the interior, and we refuse to be a forgotten district. We ask the Parliament to recognize that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and the Western Cape cannot truly prosper until the youth of the Karoo are empowered to lead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I call on and recognize Coden Morley, who is the representative from the Provincial Representative Council of Learners, the RCL. Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Honorable Wendy Kaiser-Philander, Chairperson of the sitting, Secretary to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Mr. Zira Beg, Director of Public Engagement, Ms. Chanel Fouchier, youth structures, organizations, residents of the Western Cape, and fellow delegates. Good morning. I stand before you today as President and spokesperson of the RCL Provincial Forum, representing the collective voices of young people from various districts across the Western Cape. The inputs I present today are drawn from engagements and contributions of former forum members, as well as the experiences of learners within our communities. In line with our mandate, we have identified key areas of governance that we, as the RCL Provincial Forum, intend to actively engage with and follow during our term of office. We have therefore selected 3 departments whose work directly impacts the lives of young people: the Western Cape Education Department, the Department of Social Development, and the Department of Community Safety and Oversight. Through engaging with and monitoring the work of these departments, we aim to ensure that the needs, challenges, and voices of learners are not only heard, but meaningfully addressed. Flowing from this, we identified 3 key challenges that continue to affect young people across our province. Firstly, within the education sector, many learners continue to face challenges related to the unequal distribution of resources. In some schools, there is a shortage of textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, and infrastructural limitations. There's also a growing need to improve access to digital learning and an inability to ensure that resources are distributed more fairly. Opvoeding is nie net reg nie. Dit is die fondasie van ons toekoms. Maar wanneer hulpbronne ongelyk versprei word, word geleenthede ook ongelyk verdeel. Secondly, youth unemployment remains a significant concern. Many young people lack proper career guidance and exposure to opportunities, which leads to a mismatch between education and demands of the labor market. While progress has been made, more focused efforts are needed to empower young people with the skills and support necessary to succeed. Thirdly, safety within schools and communities continue to affect learners across the province. In areas such as the Cape Flats, gangsterism disrupts learning and places learners at risk. Rural areas also face their own challenges, and as with gangsterism, behavior of parents and so-called role models are mimicked by youngsters and accepted as the norm. Additionally, issues such as bullying and discrimination, including towards LGBTQIA+ learners, create environments where young people do not feel safe or supported. A learner cannot thrive in an environment where they do not feel safe. While we recognize the role of government and educators, we must also acknowledge that education is a shared responsibility. Support from families and communities plays a crucial role in shaping the attitudes, discipline, and commitment of learners. Strong partnerships are needed to ensure meaningful and lasting change. Moving forward, we have identified key themes that reflect the vision of young people in our province. For Heritage Month, we propose the theme Celebrating Diversity and Promoting Social Cohesion. This encourages unity, mutual respect, and the building of inclusive communities. For Youth Month, we propose the role of youth in shaping South Africa's future. This highlights the importance of young people as active participants in building a better society. Honourable members, the challenges we face are linked, and so too must be our solutions. The future is not something we wait for, it is something we build. Together we can shape it. Saam kan ons dit bou. Sisonke sikanyaya. I thank you.
Thank you very much to each and every representative for your valued input, which will continue after the break. Proceedings will now be suspended and we will resume at 11:45. Thank you.
I didn't give you a government. I think we're gonna still end out and stuff.
Thank you very much, delegates. We will now resume with our session. And I now call on delegates from the various districts and the representative council of learners to identify the topics for deliberation for June and September. I do see Mr. Kaya Mkunyana, I see you on your feet. Will you be conveying the topics as they were addressed, and then the delegates will deliberate on them? Please proceed.
Chairperson, thank you very much. So there was quite a lot of challenges that were raised by our delegates today, and some of these overlap with the others. So the intention is not to read every sentence that was conveyed to us, but I'll just give an overview of what was raised. So, but what was also interesting, Chair, was that the delegates didn't only raise challenges, but they also offered recommendations and possible solution to the challenges. So that was quite interesting. So Marcia started us off by highlighting the challenges to crime, gangsterism, substance abuse, also calls for infrastructure development in the metro. Education was also the other issue, access, but also the need for rehabilitation programs and just to improve the general living standards of people in the province, particularly young people, and the expanded digital education access. So from the West Coast, the delegate there were led by JJ Foster, who highlighted the need to invest in safer and cleaner spaces, improve access to digital education, support practical learning skills for youth. And yeah, so the strong theme that came there was challenges in relation to education, in particular facing young people. So Byron also highlighted the issue of digital risk, particularly cyberbullying, as one of the issues facing young people. Education inequality, especially when it comes to access to education. That was one of the things that came. He also urged or called for a targeted employment program, skills development, and equal access to education being the central theme. Matthew, you also from the Garden Road mentioned a number of issues. So I'll just paraphrase some of the issues that you've highlighted. So you've talked about the urgent challenges facing young people in the Garden Road district, and the central theme there being gender-based violence as one of your theme that you've talked about. Substance abuse was one. You've also talked about mental health being the issue facing young people. Yeah, so you emphasize the need for unified education and awareness efforts in your speech. Then we move to Cowden from the Provincial RSL Forum. There were a number of issues that you raised. I'm just going to paraphrase. So, for example, you talked about the learners across the province facing the unequal distribution of resources, right? You talk about the classes that are being overcrowded, including shortages of textbook, limited access to digital learning. You've also talked about, let me see here, unemployment as being the challenge facing young people in the province, and of course, gangsterism, discrimination in schools and communities as part of those issues. And Angela, your issues also overlapped, being from what we say, the Overberg district, rural part of the Western Cape. Also the issues of access. You talked about the challenges facing young people, whether it being substance abuse and so forth. So Chair, this is just a summary, but also I just want to get to some of the recommendations, which I found fascinating and important because the delegates here didn't just complain, but they did tell us this is what we recommend or this is what we would expect from government. So I'm just going to name the few, but the detailed record of the recommendations and challenges we will prepare and submit. So one of the things that the delegates highlighted as a recommendation, the need for youth engagement and leadership. One of the delegates talked about the need for young people to be actively involved in civic education, but also someone also talked about the importance of involvement. Zoa from Karua, yes, for call for meaningful public involvement and participation by young people. The other thing that was raised as a recommendation here, youth employment and skills development initiatives. That was one of the things that were recommended as being important to address some of the issues that are faced by young people. And of course, youth safety and digital well-being. So we're talking about the issues related to cyberbullying, safety of young people in schools and in communities. Those were some of the key recommendations, Chairperson, that came from the delegates. But we will prepare this for processing by Parliament administration. So I've just now provided an overview of what was raised. Obviously, there was quite a bit, but those are the key main issues. Does the House agree? In agreement? Did I leave anyone out? Okay. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kaya Mukonyana is the Acting Manager for Public Education and Outreach, and I think you have captured the input in the previous round perfectly. We, honorable delegates, we are now going to call on delegates from the various districts and representative council of learners to identify the topics, or the topics that you have identified is now open for discussion. And we will be allowing 30 minutes for that discussion. But before we resume, we do have a member of the House, my colleague, present here this morning, and I would like him to introduce himself to you. Honourable Member.
Madam Chair, today is really about the youth being here today. It's a very momentous occasion. Thank you once again for standing in for the speaker. And I'm so excited to be here. When I look at these young people, I feel like, shoo, I used to be at this life stage that they're at. And I'm very excited to be here. To all those who are present, yes, I'm Grant Marie. I'm a member of this house for the Freedom Front Plus, but today is about you. Today is about finding solutions to the problems affecting our youth. And we are so excited. And you have done exceptionally well today, all of you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Marie. Much appreciated. So we have 30 minutes for delegates to then discuss your input, and I will acknowledge you by raise of hands, and whereafter you may stand and please put on your mic. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Good morning, Honourable Members. Again, I'm Raid Williams. So the topic that I would like to decide by is mental health. I hear a lot of members brought problems and solutions as well to the table. You might not know who I am, but I am a regular stakeholder within the Provincial Parliament. I do attend committee meetings. I try my best to attend a lot of committee meetings regarding education. So I rise today as a delegate from the Metro District under the former authority of Section 14 of the Constitution of the Western Cape, which mandates that this House facilitates public involvement in all legislative processes. I also furthermore invoke Section 114, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic, which charges this Parliament with solemn duty of maintaining oversight of the executive. Oversight of the executive, sorry. Honorable Speaker, the notice for the session invites us to comment on service delivery challenges. I must report that a primary challenge in our district is procedural accountability. Previously in a committee meeting, a call was made for Section 115 of this Constitution. For the record, Section 115 is the power of this House to summon evidence and demand answers, yet months have passed and that call remains unanswered. This silence is a direct failure of oversight. When we allow our constitutional mechanisms to be ignored, we tell the youth of the Metro that their struggles aren't worth a response. We cannot refer recommendations to standing committees if the department feels it can ignore the mandate of our House. This failure connects directly to the WCD's presentation in February 2026. Under Rule 20 of the standing rules of this House, we must examine impact of departmental policies. That February briefing revealed a systemic gap that violates the South African School Act 84 of 1996. The department owes data shows a funding and support model that is fragmented. When we cannot claim to be the best run province if our most vulnerable learners are being left behind by departmental neglect in metro districts, we need a uniform system of support as required by law, not a system determined by a learner's postcode. Speaker, I take a very serious view of the department's stance on mental health services in February briefing. Psychosocial support is almost exclusively prioritized for matric learners, also known as grade 12s. We must applaud the MC of Education and the HOD of Education for the amazing results they brought to us this year. It was amazing. But, Honorable Speaker, the time for ignoring mandates and delaying support is over. Let us protect the minds of the 95% and uphold our oversight duty as you sworn to uphold when you took your role, and ensure that our recommendations today lead to the real legislative actions. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Any further hands? There should be, based on the input that was provided. I recognize you, sir, at the front. Delegate.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the recognition. And again, a very good morning to the House at large. Representing the Cape Metro, we have chosen the topic for the Youth Month, which is gangsterism. Now, for gangsterism, it's not just a topic that affects the city of Cape Town or a topic that affects the Western Cape, but it is something that affects our country as a whole. And one thing that leads to that, it's something that the delegates have highlighted in their speeches, which is the unemployment rate. Now, if you could look at the statistics of the employment rate in the city of Cape Town, 1 of 3 young people in Cape Town are unemployed. And 1 into 3 young people is not just statistics. It is someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's brother, or even a young person who aspired to be something in life. Now, Honorable Speaker, we are not here to bring problems only, but we are here to bring solutions. I think it will be a good thing that we focus on making sure that education is a priority in our country, making sure that not only matriculants are taken into considerations, but for as each and every student that is between primary, high school, and tertiary students. Because the problem that we are facing right now is the fact that people get to do their matric and matriculate. But the problem is the fact that does the educational system enable them in order to study further? Because there are many people out there that cannot go to tertiary institutions, not because of they do not have the skill or do not have the information, but only because they don't have the funding. So I would like to ask the Parliament as a whole and you, Madam Speaker, that you put this matter into consideration. Gangsterism is not something that starts because of enjoyment, but some of them do it because of that. But some of them, they want to have jobs. Some of them, they want to have money. Some of them want to have dignity. Some of them want to provide for their families. That is the reason behind gangsterism and why people now turn into criminal activities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. I saw a hand that side. You may proceed, sir.
Good day, everyone. Let me ask you a simple question. How can a learner succeed in a place where they feel unsafe, disappointed, and unheard? Today I stand before you as Then not just as a representative, but as a voice of for everyone, for every young person walks who walks into school carrying not only books but challenges to face, challenges, fears, and dreams. I will talk about safety. Crime, bullying, and violence make schools feel unsafe. A learner cannot focus in class if they are constantly worried about their safety. We need stronger security measures, awareness campaigns, and a culture where learners feel protected and respected. And mental health is often overlooked. Many young people are struggling silently with stress, anxiety, and pressure from schools and personal life. Without support, this can affect both their academic performance and overall well-being. Schools must provide safe spaces, counseling services, and open conversations about mental health. Um, The future of our school depends on what we choose to do. Let us not ignore the cries of young people. Let us act, let us lead, because we we invest in the needs, safety, and mental well-being of learners. We are not just building better school, we are building a stronger future. Mother Teresa once said, I can do things you cannot do. You can do things I cannot do. So here we are the representatives of, we come from different districts. So I want us to unite together and build, what do we call, sorry, but like, sorry. And let us be a strong team together and shape our future, sorry, yeah. But thank you.
Thank you very much. I also just want to remind delegates that you make use of the interpreting services. Channel 1 is for English, Channel 2 is Afrikaans, and Channel 6 for isiXhosa. Can I also just encourage delegates to please focus on the identified topics that you have highlighted in the earlier session and as was captured by Mr. Kaya. I think that will enhance the conversation because that generally or originally emanated from you. So we are now discussing what you have shared with the House. The next speaker, please, at the back.
I think it's still morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bushra Sayed. I serve as the Vice Secretary for the Provincial RCL Committee. As my chairperson Coden mentioned earlier, lack of resources is an extremely big issue in our communities. When we look at funding for students, we see often that, not to be a certain way or anything, but we often see teenagers who get pregnant get funding for their students, for their children. What about students on school who is afraid to ask for funding for textbooks, for school uniform, for writing books, pens? They need these things. And when students don't have those resources, when they don't have the equipment needed to study, if I'm a plumber, I can't go to a job without my tools and expect to have an excellent job done. The same way our students are unable to learn properly and educate themselves properly without the necessary resources such as textbooks, paper, handbooks, written books, all things that students need. So why don't we have grants for students on school who want to further education, want these advantages, especially our schools that are not so widely recognized, or not our private schools, our public schools that are lacking resources. What about those schools and those students? Often students, a big issue in my school, specifically Black High School, students are afraid to ask when they're lacking funding. They're afraid to ask for financial benefits. So when these benefits are open, when these financial benefits are open for the public and for all students who would like to further their studies or would like to have those resources, why don't we have funding for those students? Why don't we have a stipend for those students who want to get textbooks and so on. And often schools can't afford these textbooks because they are not able to pay school fees. Students are not able to pay school fees. And yes, there are non-school fees schools, but those schools that does have school fees and there are students who can't afford to pay the school fees, the schools often experience a loss. They don't have that funding to buy textbooks, to provide extra resources for these students, especially students who are academically struggling. How do they better their education? How do they better their marks and their academic performance without the textbooks? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Delegate, you are recognized.
Thank you, Speaker, for this wonderful opportunity. I represent the Langeberg municipality. I represent the towns Bonneville, Montague, Ashton, McGregor, and Robertson. Today, I raise three concerns, namely teenage pregnancies and school retention rates, community safety, safe space mentors and mentorship programs, and entrepreneurship. Speaker, our latest municipal records show the delivery rate per 1,000 of women under the age of 19 years of age has increased from 15.3 to 70% figure that has increased in the Langeberg. Each teenage pregnancy means a young girl leaving school, a life plan interrupted, and the school retention rate for the Langeberg municipality stuck at 58%. In entrepreneurship programs, we must motivate young people, especially in the West Cape and in the Langeberg, to give and to make resources available to educate them about the business literacy and finances to grow more young business owners in the Western Cape and in the Langeberg. Secondly, community safety, safe space mentors and mentorship programs. Exposure to violent crimes and crime happenings, gang-related intimidation, and continuous informant settlement fires, dangerous school transport and transporting methods puts children and young people's lives in harm's way daily. Therefore, these matters must be addressed, Speaker. Our response in the Langeberg is a threefold one. Number one, youth mentors and mentorship programs for young people. To train young men and women from the Langeberg is up to run weekly safe space clubs in schools, community halls, and rural farm areas. These programs will be an early warning net for skills and belonging and a bridge between the community and service. To provide life orientation workshop, teach refusal skills for girls and boys, and link girls at risk of pregnancy to health services and teenage pregnancy prevention. Also, to provide life orientation workshops to teach teenagers about the dangers of drugs and the abuse thereof, and identify signs of gang recruitment and to link counseling and health services. Second, continuous police searchings in the public. To partner with local law enforcement and the South African Police Service and schools in the Langeberg for continuous spot checks and searches. Stricter preventions and enforcement funds to retailers, small and micro businesses, and mafias or resellers who make themselves guilty of selling tobaccos, electronic cigarettes, or any illegal drugs to school learners under the age of 18. And continuous wide campaigns for these mentors and mentorship programs. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you very much. I recognize the delegate at the back.
Thank you very much, Speaker. One of our delegates talked about social cohesion. My name is Desiderius Klaassen. I am the chairperson of the Greater Oudtshoorn Youth Council in the Garden Route. So I just want to talk to the social cohesion issue. The question is always, what is social cohesion? So social cohesion is the glue that can reconnect the idea of a rainbow nation. Meaning the idea of a rainbow nation is to include everyone, irrespective of your ethnical background, irrespective of your religious belief or social, whatever you believe, that we can all sit in the same room. That's the glue. The question is, what prohibits this glue to keep us together? We have legislation that put certain ethnical backgrounds, give them an advantage and others not. If we have such a legislation like the broad-based Black economical empowerment that put an advantage to a certain ethnic group and then the others are not included, the question is, how will we ever be one? How will we ever stay together under one umbrella? Or how will we ever see each other as part of the Rainbow Nation if we have legislation that excludes certain groups and include others? The other point, social cohesion means we can all participate equally. So there are certain sectors also that are only for a certain social group. Now we can only bridge those ones if we work together. For instance, tourism. If you look at tourism, it's for many of the ethnical groups, it's a closed door, especially in Oudtshoorn. So only when we understand that all of us together have a part to play in social cohesion, if we participate in social cohesion, we will ensure that unemployment, the numbers it will decrease because now everyone participates. So my urge today in conclusion is, let us all play our part in social cohesion. It is actually where a lot of our youth, they are demotivated because why must they knock at certain doors that include certain ethnical backgrounds and exclude others? How can we sit together when based on where you come from, you will be included, and based on which school you attended, you will be recognized? So it's up to us, all of us around this table, to make sure that we are part of the glue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. Just a gentle reminder of the time remaining on the clock as well. I will recognize you, Delegate, and then you can proceed after. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. A topic I want to raise is the illiteracy crisis in primary schools. Now, when I first found out about this, I discovered that most of this issue is in Afrikaans and Xhosa schools. Now, the thing is, you can't expect learners who are not taught in English, who do not live with the language English, to understand. And now, the thing that shocked me was that in Xhosa schools, that when the learners reach the grade 4, the language completely changed. So it's everything English, every subject, everything. The only subject that they do in their language is Xhosa, which is the language they study. And then the boggling thing is you expect them to learn this language, and yet they do not learn this language because they're no longer in a Xhosa class anymore. They're in an English class, and that does not make sense. Even I can say that with the Afrikaans learners in schools. And also another thing, I also discovered that there are no textbooks in South Africa which are in Xhosa, Zulu, Sotho, or other languages. Textbooks are only two languages, that is English and Afrikaans. And how do you expect learners to learn their mother tongue if textbooks themselves are not printed in their mother tongue? And also another thing is, I have a problem with teachers recommending easy ways for learners to pass. So when the learner comes to school is, oh, school, I want to pass, move on to the next grade, and whatever career, I'll discover that later. And learners choose subjects like consumer studies, tourism, math lit. Now, what does those subjects really do for this country or this economy and for them themselves for a proper job? It does absolutely nothing. Tourism, what does tourism do for what sick people, or I can say people, infrastructure and things like that? It doesn't really contribute to our economy. So I really have a problem with teachers saying, "Oh no, it's fine. You know, math. I can see you struggle in math. So just go to a math lit." The learner goes to math lit. They're applying to university. University doesn't accept math lit. You see, a problem that was caused directly by the teacher trying to to help the learner, but did not help the learner. And also the culture in schools where learners just go to school with no purpose in life. They just go to school because, oh, it's school, whatever. I just want to get my matric certificate and be out of here. And then you see them in cashiers, as what's this trolley, what's this managers, and it's really, really does not make sense. How can you spent over 13 years of your life in school just for you to be behind a till, was it scanning items? It's really mind-boggling. And also back to the language thing. In Muscle Bay, we had this program, the book drive, where we try to get books, donated books to give to these schools that from learners have to learn English. And I really I thought to myself, what don't we just take books of their languages, books that they can learn? But again, they can never do that. They can never really learn their language in the way that they're supposed to. And just a quick thing, I've read the study that says that you cannot learn another language if you're not good in your own language, in your own mother tongue. That can never happen. And those kids are not good in their mother tongue. How do you just shift all of a sudden in grade 4? Everything switches. Just your mother, only the subject that teaches that language stays the same, and everything switches. And now learners are expected, even expected to know the language. Example, in my school in grade 1, I came from a Xhosa school. I was at the school. I did not know how to read, absolutely nothing. There was this learner who read fluently, and the teacher would boast about this learner. They could read fluently, they could, do everything. And the ones who did not could struggle like me, they were marked by the teacher telling them, why can't you read? What's the problem? Why am I here then if you're gonna tell me why can't I read? I'm here to learn how to read. And it has been that process since grade 7. I've only really learned properly around grade 3, and that's already, I believe, is too late. But I was able to get the knowledge and able to learn how to read properly at around grade 3 and 4. But before then, even teachers themselves, I don't think they're really well trained to handle these situations, because even themselves, high school, the teacher says, I don't care about your future. All I care is for you to pass, and that pass rate is 100% or 90%. That's all they care about, the pass rate. They don't care is what will happen when the child leaves that gate. Where are they going? They're just going to end up in the streets, contribute to the gangsterism and drug abuse of this country. So I really think that in schools, those things should be really checked, and the government really needs to sort out this textbook things in only 2 languages. It really bothers me that no other child can, or no other children except for English and Afrikaans kids can read their language in their own tongue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Delegate. I recognize the delegate at the back, and I also just again want to draw your attention to the remaining time for debate.
Mandipotise kusomlomo kwakhona. Going back to the point that was raised by the delegate from the Garden Route about social cohesion versus redress, or rather BBE, BBEE. So what I would want to convey to the House at large is that social cohesion is part of a solution, or rather redress is part of a solution towards social cohesion. No social cohesion can take place whilst the injustices of the past are not addressed. And so that's what redress seeks to stand for. BBEE stands to try to address the injustices of the past, to try to advance those who are disadvantaged back into the position of being afforded those privileges that they were disadvantaged for. So now we can't be saying that in the name of social cohesion, no redress must be done because that is against social cohesion, whilst that is a step towards social cohesion. I thank you.
Recognize the delegate in front. And also just mindful of the time remaining for debate, please.
Morning, everyone. I would just like to quickly say something that so I am Matthew Taylor and I am the junior speaker for George. But what I also am is just a normal 16-year-old boy, like a lot of us are. We are all just normal kids. And the thing is, I think that instead of looking from the outside in, trying to solve a lot of these problems, like, for example, substance abuse, I definitely think we should go within and, go talk to these kids struggling with this, because we definitely can do that as the youth in our communities. And I know, as we all sit here, we all know how normalized small things like vaping and underage drinking has become. Okay. And I think serious substance abuse starts there. Not necessarily drugs when you're older or something like that, but I think it starts small with, kids vaping in school bathrooms and that kind of thing. We all know how normalized that has become. And I definitely think it is wrong and that we should educate them properly on these subjects, you know, because otherwise it'll just lead from small things like vaping and underage drinking to alcoholism and, you know, stronger drugs when them using vaping and underage drinking as a vice will not be enough anymore. So then they will, you know, go to be taking stronger things. And that all just leads to the other subjects like gender-based violence, you know. Just for a small example, a father comes home drunk and, you know, maybe takes his frustrations out on his wife and children. And I think it all starts small in our communities, in our school bathrooms, with kids vaping and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to recognize the delegate. You may proceed.
Thank you so much. My name is Marcus KB, and I just have a word from my school. So I come from a very poor community outside high school. We have lots of gangsterism. We have a lot of challenges that happen in our school, and I would like to talk based on my colleague Cody and what he said about resources and safety. In our school, safety is a big issue, and for learner safety in the school, it's very important for the parents. Or like it's a reputation, it's a representation of the school building. If a learner is not safe, nothing can work. And I did an analysis on the pass rate of most schools. Some schools in the rural area, they don't really perform that well compared to the higher schools in the higher places. But there's a gap between like the higher schools and the lower schools is the lack of resources that we have. Not just about the resources of textbook, there's also food that actually lacks and water, sanitations in the toilet bathrooms. And one thing I would just like to say is that when you're playing, when in a soccer team, they are defenders, they are midfielders, they are attackers, they are goalkeeper. If not one function of those teams cannot perform, we all need each other in the Western Cape to perform better, to raise that to 100% pass rate. But we need to help there's a gap between that 100 and that 90. There's a 10% gap that we need to fill in. We need to accommodate the rural schools that do not perform well because there are lack of resources. I go in a classroom where there's 30 plus learners, and how one teacher can support all those learners, it takes 10 to 20 minutes just to settle down a big class like that. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to cross this and say that we all need each other to reach the 100% mark. In order for us to reach the 100% mark, we all need to work together. And we need you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegate. And I believe the last delegate at the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Give a man a fish and you will feed him for a day, but teach him to fish and you will feed him for a lifetime. And what I would like to do is just say the reason that people actually leave school is because many of our learners are not academically aligned, but might be skilled in vocational aligned. Learners might not have to do math, but might be brilliant in grinding or harvesting a plant or a garden. Learners might not have all the textbook in the world, but majority of rural areas are not academically aligned. By implementing skills in vocational training accredited courses, collaborating with surrounding farms is a way that learners can also, or the youth can become employment. And I would like to link that with the real issue behind the listed issues is the lack of parental involvement in the children's lives, which also leads to the high rates in teenage pregnancies, which also leads to also the high rate of unemployment, because nowadays we are living in a community where children are raising children, and that is seen as a generational norm. And by creating workshops where guardians can be sorry by creating workshops where parents and guardians can be informed what the lack of parental involvement leads to and what they can do to create more jobs opportunities for their own children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the time allocated to the debate on the topics that was presented by the delegates here this morning. Thank you very much for your open, frank, and robust input. to Parliament this morning. I will now recognize Ms. Forshia that will just indicate a way forward. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, delegates of the Western Cape Provincial Youth Parliament, for the wonderful, wonderful discussion. I was saying to the Chair and the Secretary during the break that I think our future is in good hands from what I've seen today. Okay, so within a week of today's sitting, we will confirm with you the topic that will be debated on in June for the June sitting that will take place so that you can prepare. We will again expect each district and the RCL Provincial Forum to nominate a speaker on the day. We shall also submit to you a list of the recommendations that came out of this Parliament today so that you can confirm that we have captured everything. From our side, we shall then submit that to the Office of the Speaker via the Secretary, and those recommendations will then be published in what we call the ATC. It is announcement tablings and committee reports, so it becomes public knowledge. And we will also ask the Speaker to refer the recommendations to the chairpersons of the committees. So I think the Secretary didn't quite get into that earlier. For each government department, there is a committee in Parliament, and it is that committee's job to make sure that this department does its work. And if they promise in the State of the Province address, Matthew, that took place in your hometown in George in February, these are the promises that were made. This committee must make sure that those promises are met by the department. So we'll send these recommendations to the chairpersons of those committees so that they can have discussions with the department on the recommendations that you guys made. We will then give feedback to you if there are any feedback that we receive from the standing committees. We will activate the departments. In other words, we will inform the ministers of the various departments to say that we are coming, that the Western Cape Youth Parliament is going to follow them through this year, so they must know. They must be open. And then we'll also communicate with you timelines for when we will have a check-in with you guys, talk about the next sitting, see what preparations are necessary. So there will be a group. We will determine still whether we will have a WhatsApp group or whether we will just have a email correspondence. We'll check what is the easiest for everyone. We will obviously include the coordinators and the Department of Education in the group so that we make sure that everything is and stays above board. If there's any other things that you want to talk about, you must DM one another, no? Okay, that's because that's not the forum for it. But what I please want to ask all of you to do following this initial sitting of the Western Cape Youth Parliament is go back to the people that you represent, because you don't sit here, Casey, because you are Casey Marman. You sit here because there are people that chose you to represent them. So go and speak to the people that you represent about whatever came out here, and ask them also, talk to them about the topic for the youth month sitting, so that when you come here, you don't come with your own Esma Wada brain, but you come here with Esma Wada and everyone that she represents. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you from my side very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Forshia, for the way forward. And we look forward, I think, on committee level, Honourable Member Grant Marie, to have all those inputs and dissected by the various committees in that regard. Honourable delegates, it is now time for my closing remarks, after which I will hand over to the Secretary. Honourable Grant Marie.
Madam Chair, just before your closing remarks, I just wanted to ask that indeed there be timeous communication for the topic of discussion for June, so that they can go and consult their particular districts and come back with a collective approach. And I must say, I'm very impressed with what I've heard today. And I think that the Western Cape Parliament is on its way to once again leading the fight against GBV, but also getting down to where the problem is and solving the problems and challenges that we have in South Africa. Thank you very much, Madam, and thank you for your leadership in this.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I think that affirms the commitment that Ms. Fisher just made in terms of liaising and also timeous notice that will provide opportunity for that consultations in the various districts. Honourable delegates, I will be closing this session and as said, will then hand over to the Secretary for the vote of thanks. I am enlightened this morning. I am extremely positive about the future of this country. I think we are safe. We are in wonderful hands. And I want to say thank you to each and everyone that found your way to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament this morning. And I think I can say that before I am a member, I am indeed a mother. En my moederhart wil amper uit my bors uitspring vanoggend. So geweldig trots is ek op een en elk van julle vanoggend. Not only at your attendance, but your active participation as delegates of the Western Cape Youth Parliament. And having listened to your input, it is clear that the future of this Western Cape and by large, South Africa looks bright. And it is clear that our youth parliament is in capable hands, Secretary and Ms. Fisher. And you affirm today that this is not a once-off session, but an ongoing, continuous engagement with all stakeholders. The conversations are not to remain within these walls. They must travel back also. As much as we will dissect, these conversations must also travel back with you to your schools, to your communities, to your various networks. These conversations must live in the choices that you make, the actions that you take, and the leadership that you show. En elkeen vandag, dis baie duidelik, dat elkeen vandag het gekom met 'n storie. 'n Storie wat gevorm is deur jou kom vandaan, waar jy vandaan kom. Wat jou uitdagings is en wat jy saam met jou saamdra. I want to conclude, delegates, and encourage you with your own words this morning. Ms. Esop, you are correct that each delegate came with hope, frustration, and untapped potential of young people. And I concur with Mr. Taylor, the issues you face cannot wait. And yes, Ms. Solomons, what we fail to connect with, we fail to protect. Mr. Skeepers, we should build a future where every young person has the choice to not just survive, but to thrive. Mr. Foster, you're also correct that leadership is not defined by age and anyone can be a leader. Ms. Kaka opened with, there is an ocean of unrecognized talent waiting to be seen and given a chance. And Mr. Morley concluded that the challenges faced are linked, but so are the solutions. Delegates, in closing, never forget where you come from. Your roots are a source of strength. They ground you, they shape you, and they remind you why your work matters. Having said that, having had a fantastic and wonderful morning and looking forward to an invitation to the next engagement, so skimpik vanoggend, I thank you very much. I now hand over to the Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I feel I should have gone before you and we should have ended on that note. But on behalf of the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, in his absence, Speaker Daden Mitchell, I really would like to thank you all for being part of this program, in particular, and those that are not in attendance, the municipalities who, in the spirit of Chapter 3 of the Constitution and the spirit of cooperative governance, worked with our team to make sure that we were able to draw on the junior town council structures to source membership for the Western Cape Youth Parliament. And in the same vein, for the Western Cape Education Department, for the junior representative councils of learners, also to make sure that we have broadly a representation of youth structures within the province. I really want to thank Honourable Marie for taking the time out to come and join us today. We know members are extremely busy and it is a constituency period. A constituency period doesn't mean members are on leave. It means that the member must go to his or her constituency and go and engage with constituents. So it is also a busy period of the year. I also want to extend a special word of thank you to our presiding officer, Honourable Kaiser Philander, who has stepped in when Speaker was unable to take over this. To Ms. Fisher and her team and Kaya Letu in particular, and the whole directorate. Thank you for conceptualizing this idea of a Western Cape Youth Parliament. We always discussed how we have youth parliaments, women's parliament, and it becomes a once-off event. It becomes an event on the calendar. And we decided that we no longer want to have events. We want to have sustainable programs so that we can actually see that we're having tangible results that emanate from this. So this is born also out of the desire for a more effective engagement with youth on youth issues and not to have a once-off session with real outcomes to follow up. And I know that this team in particular is very passionate about their work. And this passion sometimes we see culminating in moments of aggro, moments of frustration, moments of people pulling out their hair. But we are here today, so we will disregard all the aggro and some people who has lost their hair in the process. Really want to thank this team and appreciate you for your efforts, the passion, and the commitment that you have shown. I think you really have this aspiration of this institution achieving that vision of having a deepening democracy in the Western Cape, starting with our youth. And I think this is a very good platform for us to work on that vision. I also want to thank the plenary team. They're normally not here on a Saturday. We have plenaries on certain days in the week for supporting this program and providing the procedural advice to make sure that this is a formal sitting. I hope I'm going to get the minutes of proceedings that I need to sign off for this session. Furthermore, I also want to thank all the directorates. There's many people behind the scenes that we don't see here, but there's a broader WCPP team that has supported this program, and I want to thank them one and all for making themselves available. Now, my colleagues here know that I love using a word gobsmacked, and I hope you know what it means. If you don't know what it means, please look it up. But I was quite frankly gobsmacked when I started listening to your inputs this morning and very pleasantly surprised. So as Honourable Kaiser Philander says, we speak from not from the space of our professional positions, but also being parents. And I know what my not so young teenagers anymore, what their world looks like. So I really want to thank you, each and every one of our WCYP delegates, for making a commitment to represent the youth of the province. It's not a small commitment, it's a very big commitment. So you've taken up this baton and you've decided that you're going to step forward and you want to make sure that when we talk about youth issues, the voice of the youth comes through. And I really want to thank you for taking on that challenge. You are the you in youth. I'm going to say it again. You are the you in youth. And many of you said, I'm standing as a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old. So you see the world from your lens. And very often, us adults, we don't see it. We've aged a bit, Honourable Marie. So we don't necessarily see the world from your vantage point. And I do think it's important for you to raise your voice, raise your issues as you have done today, to make sure that the future baton that we're going to hand over to you is a baton that you can take on and to move not only this province, but to move the country forward. I don't know how many of you know who Gro Harlem Brundtland is. If you read about sustainable development, she was the former prime minister in Norway, and she's called the mother of sustainable development. And she's left us with a little saying, which I think we all should bear in mind as we carry out our work, both currently in this parliament and in future parliaments, is that sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the quality of future generations to meet their own needs. So you have an early opportunity to shape the future that you want to see. And to shape a future that's going to be better, that's going to be more positive, that's going to address many of the issues that you've raised, but also going to look at implementing quite a number of the recommendations. And I was really pleased to hear that you didn't only come here to mention what the problems were, but you actually offered solution. And I think that for me was really a positive sign of where we are going to move forward to. Coden, for instance, did highlight the role of youth and the role that you can play in terms of shaping a better future. Desiderius, and I must say I love that name. It reminds me of Latin intensive at UCT. But you have touched on a critical point about the glue that keeps this Rainbow Nation together. And I really think that's a theme that this team should not forget. You are going to become the glue to deal with all aspects, not only of youth issues, but our broader societal issues and the need for us to have a more socially cohesive community within the Western Cape, but broadly within South Africa. So I'm now going to anoint you all as the guardians of the Western Cape Galaxy. You're not only a delegate for the Western Cape Youth Parliament, you are now becoming a guardian of this galaxy. And a guardian requires you not only to guard, but to grow, to nurture, and to solve any problems that may emanate from it. So your input in this Western Cape Youth Parliament will determine the outcome and the impacts. I very often sit at staff meetings and I say to staff, sometimes we complain, and I want the honourable members to close their ears when I'm saying this now. Sometimes we complain about members and whether they accept the advice we give them and the support we give them. But I still maintain that the quality of the inputs that we give as an administration is going to determine the quality of the outputs we enjoy. So we are an administration, we support the members, but we are also citizens of the province. We're also recipients of the services that we need to get through the representation that members provide. And if we're not going to be there 100% or 200%, members are only going to be able to produce based on the support that we give. I am quite confident with what I've heard today, that we are not only in good hands, that we have a right mix of talent, discipline, and passion in this room to move us forward and to shift the needle for our country. And I really look forward to working on this journey with the Western Cape Youth Parliament. And I don't know how many of you watch Star Wars movies. You don't know what Star Wars is. Nobody watched Star Wars movies. Okay, so I can see there's a generation gap, but I want to leave you with this. So this is a saying of Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. He always say, "May the Force be with you," and I will leave you with that. May the Force be with you in your future endeavors, and let us really make this Western Cape Youth Parliament a positive moment in history and a positive moment where we're going to shape a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. For all the delegates that's on the floor, we are going to take a group photo with you, the presiding officer, Mr. Murray, and the table staff. Nasira will determine whether it's in the lobby or the members' dining room, but you can all just follow Nasira. Thank you, Mrs. Kaiser-Philander.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Fisher. And that concludes the business for the day. Members and delegates are called upon to stand while the presiding officer leaves the chamber. Having said that, I wish you all a safe journey home and a blessed weekend ahead or further. This house is now adjourned. Thank you.